Yeah, so as I indicated that this semester I'll be with you and with the module on research methodology. It will carry on after we've covered the theory part. We will carry on because you will be required to write a research proposal, which is a blueprint of research, how you're going to collect your data, how you're going to analyze it, from whom you're going to collect your data, and all that. So after you've written your research proposal, it will be submitted to the Lusaka Apex Medical University Research Ethics Committee. The committee looks at proposals to ensure that what we're going to get into is feasible. Also, the main aim for a research ethics committee is to ensure that participants are not disadvantaged. So your research must be as ethical as possible. And the ethics committee does look at your proposal and they take those things into consideration. After your proposal has been cleared, which I'm hoping that it does happen this year, you need to start collecting data, and then you need to analyze that data and then write up a report, which needs to be submitted before your exams in the 5th year, 2nd semester. It's important that you don't become maybe lazy or thinking that you still have a lot of time, that you start working on your proposal next year. That would delay your graduation. Some of the students that we have now who finished all the other theory parts of their 5th year, 2nd semester are still working on their reports. Some of them are yet to collect the data. So I wouldn't want you to be in that predicament. So make sure that as soon as possible, you begin to write your proposal. In fact, if you can start writing your proposals this semester, so that next semester you're just looking at approval. When we have our December holidays, you collect your data, and then next year you swing through and ensure that your report is done on time. So for today's lecture, we are looking at research methodology and research problems. So this is just an introductory part. Are there any questions from what I've mentioned? Any questions? We will write 2 tests, and already on Google Docs, I've indicated the different topics that we'll be doing throughout the semester. I've also put the dates when the test will be written. I've done so that you're not caught unaware, that you know how we move from here. Has anybody done research before amongst us? Anyone? Anyone to tell us what research is? What do you understand by the term research? Anyone? Yes. Was somebody saying something? Was somebody saying something? Was somebody saying something? Arthur Washi, What do you understand by research methodology or research? What do you think research is? I'm not getting any feedback, so I don't know whether people are there or not.
Why here, Doc?
The silence is too much. So I need some response. Anybody, what is research? I'm sure you've heard the word before. There are no right or wrong answers here. We're discussing. Edna?
Yes, Doc.
Yes, what do you understand by the term research? Just general.
So research is a systematic way of collecting data and analyzing it.
Okay. Very good. Anybody else?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. Research is a form of an investigation that is carried out in order maybe to solve a problem, maybe find answers to a problem. I think that's how I can look at it.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you. So I'm sure all of you were aware of vaccines. I'm just trying to give an example of something that all of us, something that is close to all of us. We know about vaccines for COVID. So they didn't just come up, somebody just put things together and then administers it to everybody. So it has to go through a robust process, systematic, as has been mentioned, to find the best way of trying to prevent or to tackle the current situation. So, and that is why you find that, in fact, there's not only one type of vaccine, there are many other vaccines, because people want to find which vaccine will work better than the others. If you're aware of drug development, you know that there's usually side effects. So are we able to find a drug that has got less side effects? Are we able to find a drug which will easily be taken by individuals? So maybe instead of getting a vaccine, which you need 2 injections, so maybe 1 injection is enough. So all the processes that drug development undergoes, that's the research process. Even in physiotherapy profession, there are many interventions which we do that have come forward because of the research that has taken place in the past. Most of the interventions, not all of them, most of the interventions in physio, they came about because of research. There are certain things that we do whereby not much research has been done. And so we need to engage in research activities so that we are able to answer questions that have not yet been answered using the systematic method. So why do we do, or did we do it that way? Why are we using certain interventions? So you may say we usually use these techniques for cerebral palsy children because it has always been like that. I studied physio at Evelyn Horn College way back in the 90s. And certain things that I still do now are things that I learned when I was at Evelyn Horn College. The question is, is everything that I learned that time because of research, or could it have been because of tradition, physiotherapy as a tradition, from where it comes back from? So one may say, because we always do it that way, so that is why we do it that way. So traditions are associated with a group. There are certain certain equipment that when I go to a particular hospital, where maybe the physio who is there maybe graduated in the 70s or 60s. So they're certain, they'll ask, what about this equipment? If you're going to put them on the panel for a Health Professionals Council of Zambia coming to inspect, they'll ask for that equipment, which, by the way, is no longer being used. It could be like last time it was used was 20 years ago, but there's new evidence that comes out all the time. And you'll find that certain things that we've been doing for a long time actually do not add any value to patient care, treatment, rehabilitation. So traditions associated with a group, they are practiced by the majority, and then they are passed down through generations. And these are very hard to change. There are certain things that we do, and there's evidence that they do not make any difference. But we've been doing this for years and years. Physio, now we're celebrating 50 years this year. There are things that are 50 years old. What are the ways of knowing within our profession? Throughout the years, these are the ways in which things have come out. So one is trial and error. So trial and error is just trying something. You just try and see whether it's going to work, and then you find that it works. So some of the things that we do have come about because of trial and error. Others have come through experience. You'll find that there are certain techniques that somebody used to use, and over time, they've observed through experience that that thing works, that they have positive outcomes. So also authority and tradition. Tradition, like I mentioned earlier, that they're just things that we have done as physios from way back. And so they have become a tradition. Massage, some of the massage techniques, tradition to a lot of us. Then there's authority. There are books, for example, which we respect because of the authors who have been big names in physio. And because they have indicated that for this kind of intervention, this is what you do, that is what we have always been doing. Other ways of knowing in physio is just using logic and common sense. So these are the three ways of knowing. When we're not chatting or talking, we need to mute. Just make sure you mute if you are not asking a question. If you want to ask a question, please, you raise your hand. I prefer that the sessions be as active as possible, active participation. Yes. So is research a tradition in healthcare? Those are some of the questions we need to ask ourselves. So here's a very powerful statement. Half of what you are taught as physiotherapy students will in 10 years have been shown to be wrong. And the trouble is none of your teachers knows which half. So of everything we're learning now, because research is evolving, there's always new evidence that is coming. You'll find that some of the things that we've believed in and are not correct. So attention is given. That's how we as physios operate. Attention to the full range of human experiences and responses to health and illness. Integration of objective data with knowledge gained from understanding of the patient's subjective experience. And also another essential of what we do, the interventions we do, is application of scientific knowledge to the process of diagnosis and treatment. And this is why research is very important. One of the differences between a degree program and a diploma program is the part of generating scientific knowledge, critical thinking, which all are part of the research process. So the fact that you're doing research now, and through what you're gaining, it's going to be applied. This is some of the things that make this program different from a diploma program. So a research process itself is a studies, inquiry, or examination, especially investigation or experimentation aimed at the discovery and interpretation of facts, revision of accepted theories or laws in the light of new facts. Okay, it's aimed at the discovery and interpretation of facts, revision of accepted theories or laws in the light of new facts. Is there practical application of such new or revised theories or laws? The other definition is the systematic collecting of information about a particular subject. So systematic means that there are certain processes that we are going to use, such that if somebody else comes and sees our protocol or our proposal, they're able to replicate that study and get similar findings. Okay, any questions on that introduction that we've had? So if there's no research problem, then there's no need for you to do a study. There must be a research problem for you to engage into research. It could be that evidence is lacking in the particular area. Maybe there are doubts. Maybe we only have theories. We don't have facts. There's a situation where a lot of people are affected. We've got COVID-19. We need to find better ways in which to provide care, better ways in terms of vaccinations that we're giving. So if there's a research problem, then you need to conduct research. A research problem is a discrepancy between what one knows and ought to know to solve a physiotherapy problem. There are many sources of research problems. It could be through experience. You've been working for a long time at your hospital. There are certain things that you have been observing. When I was working at UTH, I observed that whenever we are addressing or treating patients with hemiplegia, that we concentrated more on the patient and we left out the caregivers. And so for my master's project, I did something looking at the experiences of informal caregivers of stroke patients. Also, technology. There's a lot of advancement in technology. Cell phones now. Even my mother, who is in her late 80s, she's using a phone that has got WhatsApp, a phone that has got internet. So all this technology which is coming up, we are able to start thinking of ways in which to use that technology in providing care. You can be able to give an exercise program to a patient who is far in the rural area, so that they access that basic care that is needed. Also, there are new roles of the physiotherapist. Before, everybody was just working in the hospitals. When you finish, you will just be thinking, which I need to be employed by the government. Now there are new roles. We have many physios who are academics. We have many physios who are going into sports medicine. There are many other physios that are taking up managerial positions. Also, sources of research problems, physiotherapy literature. Some of the studies I've done in the past, I've read articles, physiotherapy articles, and out of that, I've come up with research questions. Also, theories exist in every profession, and based on those theories, you can be able to do study. You can be able to identify research problems. So experience, professional wishes, curiosity, you're curious about some of the things that we do. Maybe you've had a new experience and you want to explore within that area. So as I mentioned on technology, that we have made so many advancements, the expanding roles of physios. We're also involved in community-based rehabilitation. We can be advocates, teachers, as I mentioned, that we have academics now, many. Also counseling. So research reports. So I think I did summarize all these. So literature, there could be gaps in literature. There may be areas as reviewed by a dearth of available literature on the topic that remain unexplained. Also replication, no study can stand by itself. It must be replicated for confidence in the results. So somebody has done a study on injuries. You may replicate so that there's more confidence in the results that we're finding. So the reports, research reports on physio, when you go towards the end of the report, there's always recommendations to say future research must explore this area or that area. There's been some inconsistencies. Some studies you find that maybe prevalence, they find that back pain prevalence among maybe accountants, maybe it's 30%. Then you find another study says 70%. So because of those inconsistencies, we need to get to do research so that we establish what the truth is. There could be that there were weaknesses in the methodology applied by one of the studies. I didn't mention about theories. So for one to be able to get a good research problem, it must be interesting, it must be researchable, it must be feasible, meaning it must be practical, it must be important, and also it must be pertain to a health science, physiotherapy in our case. So it must be interesting. You're going to do that study for a long time. If it's boring, it becomes like a burden. I prefer to do studies which get me excited. It must be researchable. When it comes to feasibility, look at time. Don't do a study which will take you 2 years because you need to graduate. There must be a place where you can be able to collect it, collect your data. You must have the money to do the study. You must have the equipment. You must have the patients and also instruments to measure the variables. So you must be able to have a questionnaire that is able to answer a question. It must be important. It must make a difference in patient care or the physiotherapy as a profession. It must add professional practice knowledge. You must ask your question, does it help support or build theories? Does physiotherapy have access to or control over the phenomena in question, or is it reasonable to think that they will? Okay, so developing and refining a research problem, how do you do that? So I can see that we've got 1 minute and less than 30 seconds. Okay, I'll make another link and then I'll post it on the group. Is that okay?
Yes, Doc.
Yes, Doc.
Okay, so let's regroup. We can take a 5-minute break. Those with questions, please write down your questions.